Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, Jake on the OneManBand is back again. New intro, new haircut. It's time for new and more RWBY reviews. So basically these are going to be the off-season reviews, as I think I'm going to call them, because yes, it is off-season, and they are going to be reviews slash theories slash prediction things. Basically, we're going to be diving into RWBY, thinking about complicated and convoluted things, and it's just gonna be freaking awesome. It's gonna be fun. Let's go on an adventure, guys. It's gonna be fun. But before we really dive into any of that stuff, I really want to talk about Volume 2 and the good stuff that was in there, and the things I really hit very well, and the things that were kind of just iffy. I mean, this may be personal opinions on my part, just due to some things that may have, like, just irked me a little bit about Volume 2. But, you know, some of these may be justified, and I do know that the pros do outweigh the cons here. So, more pros than cons in this scenario. So anyway, here we go. The pros and cons of RWBY Volume 2. Alright, first off, let's just say it right now. The animation just was automatically better. I mean, the first few minutes of the first episode, you can already tell the animation is much better. There's no more any silhouette people. It has a more brighter environment. There's more colors integrated into the backgrounds. And also, like, hair movements and clothes movements just seem very, like, more fluid and more just there. I mean, sorta in Volume 1, there was cloth movements, there was hair movements, but it didn't seem as natural and then just there. It just, like, you noticed it, and you're like, oh, okay, there it is. But in Volume 2, it's, like, always going on. There's always, like, I don't know, some clothes, some fabric moving, or some hair moving, or a little bit of boob jiggle. It just is really cool to see all that awesome stuff to be incorporated into the series, because now it just feels more alive. With all this new animation, the RWBY universe seems more alive. Next up, we have the villain's perspective. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love a good villain, and the villains that have been presented in RWBY so far are far beyond satisfactory. I love every single one of them. And in Volume 1, we didn't really get to see a lot of the villains. What we did see was, like, Roman Torchwick and what he was doing, but he really only got, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes tops of screen time. In this volume, since they incorporated the whole, oh, Cinder and her team have infiltrated Beacon Academy, we now get to see the villain's perspective. We kind of see what they're planning, but we don't know what exactly is going to happen, because, you know, Cinder likes to keep all her plans under wraps, and, you know, you'll know what you need when you need to know it, stuff like that. But we do now get to see at least a bit of the villain's perspective, and that just makes it a more roundabout series. Not because it's like, if we only saw the hero's perspective, then we wouldn't really care for the villains, we wouldn't sympathize with the villains. Now that we can see the villain's perspective, we're like, oh, well, I really like this Torchwick guy. You know, I know he's bad, but he's got some redeeming qualities about him. And then you think, oh, well, I really, you know, oh, when they take him down, I don't know if I really want him to get killed off or whatever. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on the villain's perspective. Alrighty, now this was a really big one for me. We had more over-the-top anime humor. Now, the one situation where I can think of in Volume 1 where there was anime humor was in Episode 2, when Yang and RWBY first arrive at Beacon, and RWBY does the whole, like, swooning over other people's weapons. You know, that was actually a thing at the first RWBY panel. When we saw that, Monty you know, stated that he was wondering if he should keep that in there because at that point that was only a placeholder for what may happen. So, and he like asked us, the people in the audience, like, did we like that? Should we keep more of that in there? And we were like, yeah, keep that in there because it was hilarious. So I don't know if he would have changed it or kept it that way even without our consent, but I do believe that, well, Rooster Teeth as a company is a company that is, it's community built. So they do things to please their fan base and community. So I can only hope that we kind of made that happen. But anyway, in Volume 2, they had more over-the-top anime humor, where it's like, oh, completely overreaction shot. Or when Weiss was asking Blake what was wrong, she did the whole like jump and flippy thing, and then it turns out she was standing on a chair that was just barely balancing. And then, you know, RWBY going on her giant rant while getting the crazy face on. And when Zwei was first introduced, they had the whole like intro dancey scene with his face bobbing back and forth and stuff. It's stuff like that that really makes you laugh, because it's like, even though you're kind of expecting RWBY to be funny and to get a laugh out of it, when it's just over-the-top stuff like that, you just can't help but just smile, because you're just like, where did that even come from? I mean, and if RWBY is going to become a more serious, darker show, then the little bits like that is really what's going to keep people coming back, because it can't always be melancholy, it can't always be serious, it's got to be funny sometimes. Next up, we have the introduction of more and new characters. Characters such as like Zwei, Neptune, Neo, and a few other people. You know, the introduction of them into the series shows that, oh, it's an ever-expanding series. There's probably going to be a lot of people coming in and out of the series, and it just keeps it wide open for like, oh, well, none of the characters, I don't really like them, but then there's always that possibility, well, there could be another character coming in later who's going to be really freaking awesome, and stuff like that. And every single character that was introduced in Volume 2 filled a role that kind of needed to be filled. Neptune, he's kind of Sun's wingman, and he filled in that gap, because Sun just arrived by himself in Volume 1, and we knew he was part of a team, but we were like, well, where's the rest of the team? Stuff like that. But then they introduced Neptune, so we kind of get a look at what his team is. Zwei came in, and it was like, oh, we got a cute pet character now. A little cute dog pet character. And, you know, those are always a joy to have. And then Neo is totally like a blank slate. We know she's kind of crazy, she's really good at fighting, she's a villain, and we don't really know much about her at this point. And then the next thing is that they took a few characters that were from Volume 1 and then expanded upon them in Volume 2. The chief of them being Oobleck. Oobleck was probably the fan favorite for like secondary character / professor. I mean, he has that whole like crazy eccentric thing going on, but in Volume 2 we got to see him in action, we got to see him how he works in the field, and how his brain kind of works, which I just found, it was a joy to just see Oobleck doing his thing. But of course, with all these pros and good things, there has to be a few cons, some things that kind of got on my nerves, maybe got on your nerves too, but once again, it may just be my opinion, so if this offends you in any way, I apologize. Alright, first off, Penny being a robot. We all basically knew that she was a robot, cyborg, android type dealie by the time RWBY Volume 1 ended. That was kind of the given. That was what everyone was thinking. But when they finally reveal it, that, oh, she's a robot, she's an artificially created human machine that can generate an aura. But there isn't really an explanation why she was built, or even how she was built. Now, this could be just this could be explained later on in the series. I know that, but when they dropped a bomb like that into the series, it's like, oh, an artificially created human. They can generate an aura. This can replace every actual human in the army, you know, and she's a prototype. It wasn't really expanded upon. It didn't really give us a why or a what, really? I mean, once again, just maybe my personal preference, but it was just like, okay, artificially created human. And then, like, she was there in the first 3-4 episodes of the volume, and then we just see her once in, like, a quick 5-second shot of her at the dance. And Penny isn't even touched for the rest of the series. I was just all like, well, come on! You can't just leave us with that kind of information. That's like telling the kid at Christmas time, oh, kid, your presents are in the closet. Don't go in there. They're gonna go in the closet to see their presents. Alright, next. Sage and Scarlet. You guys know this by now. If you guys have watched my other reviews, you guys know how I'm very miffed about Sage and Scarlet, the other members of Sun's team, how they weren't in Volume 2. I mean, they were in one shot, one wide crane shot, and that was only if you were looking for them, which I was. And you just barely see them. But you see, they're in the intro sequence. And when you see something in the intro sequence, you kind of expect it to be in the series. I mean, I was totally expecting there to be a final clash between Team RWBY and Cinder's team at the end of the volume. Now, when that didn't happen, I could see why it didn't happen and how it's going to develop into the future, but still, it's like you introduce Neptune, but you don't introduce these two guys? And I can't really accept the whole, oh, we didn't have voice actors for him, because it's like, well, Rooster Teeth, it's like there's a lot of people working there now, but it's like you can always get somebody to voice somebody. But you know what? It's their show, it's their series, they can do whatever they want with it. I'm just voicing my opinion that Sage and Scarlet, just, in my opinion, should have been in the series. Just a little bit. Even if you just show them, like, in the crowd next to Sun and Neptune. Or at least them with Sun and Neptune, when Sun and Neptune were gonna go leave to go on their mission. It was just Sun and Neptune there, talking with Team Juniper and Team RWBY. Oh yeah, we're gonna go be junior detectives. Oh, you know, our other team members? Oh, we don't know where they are. Alright, next up is probably the most ultimate troll I have seen in a long time. Velvet's weapon. Alrighty, so Velvet was the fan base's godchild, pretty much. Her outfit was designed by the fans of the show. She was instantly a beloved character when she was seen, and she's just an all-around cool character. But when it came down to it, her weapon wasn't revealed when she was totally ready to use it. Now, this may be just building up to something later on, but when you build somebody up that high on a pedestal, you kind of expect to at least give us a little bit of something, but then they kind of, you know, just completely drowned it out with the amazingness of Coco's weapon, which is totally valid, but it's just, once again, my opinion, I really wanted to see Velvet's weapon. And when we didn't see it, I was kind of sad. But that just means that we're going to have to wait until Volume 3 to see this dang weapon. Which brings me to the ultimate pro/con. It's both good and both bad. Questions. Every good show, whenever a volume or a season ends, has to leave people with questions, because that's what brings them back to watch the next season, volume, whatever. And that's completely valid. I completely agree with that. That is, like, 100% A-okay. But it just seemed that in Volume 2, there was a lot of questions that, in my opinion, should have been answered, but weren't. Like, once again, the whole, like, Penny thing, and the Sage and Scarlet thing. And, there was a few other things that I really wanted to be explained but weren't. Oh, yes, the whole how Weiss is kind of pissed off at her family or has a bad relationship with her family. I kind of wanted that to be touched on a little bit, because once again, it was just barely touched on in the beginning of the series, and then it was just kind of forgotten when the series just moved on. So, it's just the little things like that. Like, I'm a reviewer. I'm nitpicky. That's my fault. That is my blessing and my curse. Is that I can look at something and I could dig down deep into it, but then I get nitpicky. So, once again, it's the ultimate pro and con. Basically, it left us with questions, good, but some of the questions I felt personally should have been explained in Volume 2. And that goes for the ending as well. I mean, the ending, don't get me wrong, the ending was amazing. Like, the last episode was just awesome, and it did tie up a lot of loose ends with Ironwood becoming head of security for the Vinyl Festival, Torchwick being taken into custody, the return of Adam, and then just the whole big fight sequence. That was all totally awesome. But it all really felt rushed, in my opinion. It felt like it was kind of rushed to quickly tie things up. And also, the introduction of Raven was just something that totally blew people away. Because they were like, who is this person? Is she Yang's mother or sister? What is this? But unfortunately, we'll have to get to that in the next video. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this whole video that I did. It was just kind of a video of me rambling and raving and ranting about stuff, but hey, it's kind of good to get these things out, because it kind of helps you guys think, helps me think a lot. I mean, to me, finally get this stuff off my chest, now I don't have to really think about it anymore. I can just rewatch the video. But anyway, there's going to be a list coming up soon of all the upcoming reviews, videos, theories that I'm going to be doing. And hey, while you're waiting for those to come out, why don't you check out some of these Let's Plays that I do? Did you know I do Let's Plays? Probably not, since only about 20 of you watch them. Anyway, if you guys want to watch them, go on ahead. And don't worry, I got lots of cool RWBY stuff planned for the future. So until then, this has been Jake of the OneManBand, and like and favorite if you've enjoyed, subscribe of course, be a nice person, and tip those waitresses. I will see you next time. I'm out there in YouTube land. Yeah.